I know what you're thinking. You want the attention you don't get in real life.
Who's there? Who's talking?
Look at yourself. Look at what you're about to do. We can do better than this.
Look at that Asian pussy.
Please,
Check it out, man. We got
please
here.
just let me
Gotta
go.
have some money on her, right? See what she got in the bag.
I'm just a student.
Hey, you, over there.
Who's there?
I was sent by God to condemn the evil of this world.
Wait! Don't move! Stay back!
Yo, it's a joke.
What are you doing, man?
Come on.
Stay back!
Pick up your weapon, idiot.
Yo, what?
What are you doing,
Hey,
man?
grab this guy. Who is he?
Put him down, man. Put him down.
Hi, thank you for joining us here on StarNet Studios. I hope you are having a great day or evening so far, depending on when you are watching this. So we have a talented young man. He's an actor who's been really busy with various shorts and his own projects, film shorts that is. And I'd just like to say hello to Shadow LaValley. Hi, Shadow. How's it going?
Hello, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm here and I'm enjoying life, especially just getting to take a look at some of your projects, which I'm enjoying reading about. So I know this one. Let's get started with the Drive, which I believe was a feature film that you had worked on. Is that correct? You want to tell us a little bit about Drive?
Yeah, Drive was very much the last project I did in New York. I'm originally from New York, and that's where I've done most of my work. I just moved to Los Angeles in 2018. So before moving, I wanted to involve as many independent filmmakers and actors and just all the people I worked with before I moved to Los Angeles. So I figured when I was writing this film, I wanted to include as many of those people as possible. So that's really where that started. I think story-wise, Drive started with me personally, because it's more of a caregiver film about what happens when you invest that time into a loved one during their final years of life, and how that impacts both you mentally as well as the person that's going through it physically. So, yeah, I think just as a whole, Drive touches base on part of my experience, my personal experience. And as a filmmaker, that's what I look to do, because I realized early on that everyone has their own story to tell. And so there's no point in me trying to create or manifest something from left field and be like, oh, let me create this. Let me share my experience with you all so that maybe you can learn from my mistakes or what I have gone through. And so as a filmmaker, that's my goal with Drive and with all the works that I create.
So when you got started, like, for example, with Drive or anything else, when did you know that film was the way that you wanted to express yourself? Because I mean, you could have painting or sculpting or just simply, and I know you do some writing as well, like when you write your screenplays, but how did you know the film was going to be the way that you wanted to go?
I knew early on, and I actually didn't know until I came to realize, but I knew like early on in my childhood, because as a family unit, I grew up in the middle of the country, middle of nowhere, central New York. So it was like an hour drive to get to anywhere to do anything. So a lot of times as a family, when we were together, we would sit down and watch a movie here and a movie there, a TV show here and a TV show there. And so that was that connection as a family. And so early on, I knew that I wanted to create projects based on my experience. Again, to recap what I said a few moments ago, just to give people the opportunity to see life from a different perspective, from my perspective, and maybe they can better themselves through my experience. But I knew film was the way to go early on, just because it brings people together, in whether it's in a movie theater or whether it's at home with like a Netflix or a Hulu style thing. People have the opportunity to take time out of their day, out of their work schedules, out of the stresses, and like transport themselves into something totally different than what they're experiencing right now.
Yeah. So you mentioned you spend time with your family watching TV shows and movies. From some of your memories growing up, what were some of the movies and TV shows that you remember watching either with your family or even on your own that you kind of enjoyed and, maybe even influenced you a little bit, possibly?
The ones that influenced me probably the most were movies. And I'm probably going to date myself here a little bit, which I'm getting to that age now. Indiana Jones definitely was a series that I instantly attached to, because as a child growing up, I was this scrawny little kid that sat in the back of the classroom, don't pay no attention to me kind of thing. So seeing movies like Indiana Jones, Die Hard, Lethal Weapons, even Back to the Future to a certain degree, it gave me that inspiration. Like I could be that person. I could be that, that hero at the end of the day that saves the day kind of a thing. So I was more drawn to movies like that as a child growing up. And then biggest influences, I would say, honestly, it wouldn't be until I started watching the TV show NCIS. That was the biggest influence on me from a personal standpoint, mainly because of the life experience I experienced in my late teens, early 20s. I had fallen in some dark times and didn't know how to get out of it. When I started watching the series with when I started caregiving for those final years with my meme, my actual meme, and my mom helping her out, they watched NCIS. And so that's where I started watching the show. And Mark Harmon's character in the series, although obviously different circumstances, I was able to instantly connect with that character because of the experiences that we so closely shared. And so seeing how his character got out of those negative situations, turned him into a positive the best way that he could, inspired me to take my negative situations and flip them into positive territory. So that's, I think, the most influential experience as far as film and television goes, was that series there, for sure.
Yeah. Now, that's something that we definitely have in common, because you mentioned Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. Those are two easily probably in my top 5. I'm an action movie guy, and I do enjoy NCIS, all of the versions, even though I don't watch them as much as I'd like to, but they're good shows. So that said, one of the things I noticed when I was looking at some of your history and some of your training, you took some hand-to-hand combat training as far as like, I don't know if it was stage combat or what, but have you had a chance to apply that to any of your roles that you worked on, or you play, and if not, do you think you might go that way in the future?
I'm definitely, as my meme would say, I'm loaded for bear when it comes to that experience. No, that was actually a fluke of all things. I was online somewhere doing researching on classes, and this action acting class came up. And oddly enough, it was with Bruce Willis's stunt double, who was teaching at Stuart Wilson. And I thought, what a great opportunity that would be to gain that experience. And a lot of it, because again, I come from the country in central New York. So as a child growing up, I was a hunter. So I know firearms, I know how to handle them, that sort of thing. This is more or less me realizing, okay, when you don't hold it up to camera, you hold it down here so they can see your eye line, little techniques like that to learn. But the entire experience was just stellar. obviously taking notes throughout the entire thing because he's obviously busy with Bruce Willis and the movies that he does with him. No, but it was a very great experience and a great blessing to take that class when I did. And I'm just, like I said, I'm loaded for bear. Whenever the action role comes up, I'm ready.
All right. So you spent all that time in New York, and then you decided to move to the Los Angeles area. How did that transition come about, and what kind of triggered the decision, or at least helped you to go ahead and make that move?
So it was, timing is everything in life. I'm learning as I go along, and at the time, I was wrapping up work on another project in New York. And I had a college friend from Oneonta State, where I went to college, reach out to me and said, "Hey, Shadow, I'm out here in Los Angeles right now. My uncle's working on a project right now. He's going to be on remote from, I think it was February till September of 2018. And he said, do you want to see if Los Angeles is right for you? Live out here rent free at my uncle's place, literally on the beach in Playa del Rey." And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Opportunity breeds opportunity. So I jumped on it, and I've been out here ever since.
And you live on the beach, you just said.
No, not currently, no.
Or not currently, but at least it started that way. Okay.
That started that way. It was very like, it was a great experience, but it was so surreal because it's one of those things like, I shouldn't be here kind of feelings, but I'm enjoying the opportunity that I'm experiencing right now. And then reality hit come August or whatever, moved out and that sort of thing. And I'm currently in Hollywood right now, which I'm grateful for because, again, living in the country takes an hour to get anywhere. Walking distance here and there, and I discovered Postmates. I'm like, what is this? It's a whole new world.
Yeah. So currently you're out there, and you're currently, I mentioned earlier you've done quite a few short films. The current project is The Can. Is that what you're working on right now?
That is. It's postponed right now because of COVID and funding and all that. As unfortunately many productions are in right now. But that is the next project. And it's interesting because Drive, as big as it was still a non-union project, whereas The Can is the first short film that I'll be producing that is going to be under the SAG after contract, and it'll be a union project in that regard. So it's going to be it's been an interesting process so far as learning, like, okay, I need this in place, that in place, which I kind of already knew doing research and everything. I needed certain things in place, and then having to put everything on hold in August, October of last year because of just you can't move forward with COVID and all that stuff. So yeah, it's the next project in the work. It was a project I wrote in 2017, and then I was middle of pandemic, like I think it was April and May of last year, like looking through what can I do. Let me start writing. So I pulled that one out of the files that I have, and I looked at it as like, well, why not try this, and reworked it, brought some people on board, got some advice on adjusting this, and this. And I think the wisest thing I've done with that project is I submitted it to festivals as the script just itself, just to get feedback from the critics and be like, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. And so going back into the script after I get those critiques to make those adjustments so that it makes, okay, I understand why this doesn't make sense now because you hear something you didn't hear before. So I think that was one of the wisest things I've done with that script. But yeah, it's coming along as much as it can during a pandemic.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So whether it be what you're working on, your efforts that you're putting in toward the Can, or what you've done with Drive, or even something going back in time a little bit to like the adventure of USS Sherry or something like that, like I believe was one of your earlier works. Where might someone find some of the items that you produce, whether it be the adventure of Sherry or or I believe Slade Collins, In and Out of Time, I believe was another one of yours. So where was someone find some of your works?
Sure. Well, there are a lot of independent projects that I did in Central New York because at the time I knew this was something I wanted to do. I just didn't know where to start, so I just started with local in Central New York. So a lot of the stuff that I've done is independent projects in Central New York. So, for example, a Slade Collins, there's a part 1, part 2 of that movie that's done through Mad Angel Films, which they have their own website. You can go there. You can either purchase the film. I think they have a downloading site now where you can download that. There's other shorts. Like there's Jasmine that I did out here. There's a music video, Tribulation, that I did out here. It's a great 10, I think maybe 15-minute music video based on the song. You can get those just by doing a simple Google or YouTube search. As far as stuff that I've created, I have to double check on. I believe most of my stuff is on YouTube. If not, then that's something to where I have to just put what I can on YouTube. There's some things with regards to contracts, like with Drive. Everything for that film was geared towards donations towards charity, the International Child Art Foundation. We were able to raise $1,000 for the International Child Art Foundation, which was super. But I have to stay true to the contracts with regards to releasing that. So there may be avenues in the future where if it's like a PBS style, cable network where it's no one's going to make any money off it. If there is any money made, it goes towards the charity again. That's an option. But definitely just protecting the film, protecting the people that worked on it, taking those into consideration. So with regards to works that I've done, but there's other works on there that other film companies, other independent filmmakers have done that's fully available on YouTube, fully available on, I'm sure through a Google search or their own sites. You can definitely check those out.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, however you're able to place, get that in front of the public, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that project. It sounds great, especially if it helped a lot of people with $1,000, the money that they made and things like that. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I appreciate you coming on StarNet Studios, and look forward to seeing what happens with the can once it comes into play there. So just good luck with that, and we look forward to seeing what's next for you there.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the time, and I'll definitely keep you informed. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.